Meanwhile, Kanye West tweeted after the meeting, and this is what he wrote. I wanted to meet with Trump today to discuss multicultural issues. These issues included bullying, supporting teachers, modernizing curriculums, and violence in Chicago. Interesting. Joining us right now is staff writer for The Federalist, Bre Payton. Bre, good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Thanks for having me.
What's your take on this range of celebrities and executives Trump is meeting with today at Trump Tower?
Sure. So I think, honestly, that Peter Thiel is the perfect person to introduce Trump to Silicon Valley. I think, remember, this is a group of people who are mean and don't like ideas and don't like people who disagree with them or ideas that are different from them, right? All throughout the election cycle, we watched as Facebook suppressed news that they didn't like. We watched as Gizmodo told its employees, saying, hey, if you sympathize with Donald Trump, there's the door, you can leave, okay? So these are mean people, right? They're kind of like mean girls. And I think that Thiel kind of really is an ally of Trump because they have a lot of skeptics. They're both skeptical of globalization, and they're both these very wealthy individuals who like to raise a lot of trouble in their respective fields. And I think, honestly, if these people are going to come together and have a meeting about making the government more efficient, I am all for that.
Yeah.
Some of the focus will be on jobs, and it's interesting to note that if you look at the top 5 technology companies, that would be Apple, the parent of Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook. They only employ about 600,000 people. It's the nature of the business, and a lot of those jobs are overseas. Walmart employs about 1.5 million people here in the United States alone. So it's got to be more about jobs. And Trump hammered a lot of these companies like Apple on the campaign trail about, I'm going to make them manufacture more products here in the United States. And that's a long road to hoe, so to speak. But you can focus on immigration. And I wonder if there's going to be any heat, because these companies have had an easy ride under the Obama administration, whether it's net neutrality, concentration of power. They've not been hammered about privacy issues the way that maybe a Trump would.
I think it's important to note, though, that we do have an outdated technology infrastructure, even when it comes to our nuclear arsenal. And you've seen Congress push back on this and wanting that being updated, talking about how the nuclear codes, when they're entering them in, you know, the old systems. I think it's also to note that one of the biggest fronts we're going to be facing when it comes to war is a cyber war, a technology war. We're continuously seeing these hacks. So I think they are a key pivotal part in the national security of this country. And I think Donald Trump and Peter Thiel both understand that. So we need to cohabitate well. And so all this saber rattling that's gone back and forth from not only the Trump campaign but also Silicon Valley needs to stop and move forward.
They hate him.
Yeah.
And hate's not a strong enough word to describe how people in the Valley feel about Donald Trump.
Yeah, and
now they need him.
Yeah, and then they hated Peter Thiel because of his support for Donald Trump.
And
you're right. Now they need him.
And the fact he funded that Gawker lawsuit in favor of Hulk Hogan, they hated him for that. They felt like it was abuse of his wealth.
Oh, come on.
I've heard that.
So jobs, cybersecurity, and then, of course, Bre, most of Silicon Valley, as you're hearing, did not support Trump during the election campaign. Do you think this is going to affect the tone today?
Oh, I think it certainly will, and I hope that, you know, he really does bring these people to heel for the way that they behaved all throughout the election cycle, right? This is an industry that has gaslighted many of its own employees who have opinions who disagree with them, and I think it's really important for them to have a free-flowing sense of ideas, right? Because these are a lot of the same people who control how we get our information. Right now, there's a lot of talk about the rise of so-called fake news and Facebook's role in that, and I think that that's something that needs to come up in this meeting, and I think that, you know, Donald Trump really needs to press these individuals and say, hey, look, you guys are the gatekeepers for a lot of information, and you need to not suppress stuff that you don't agree with.
Yeah, I just want to point out that the Trump transition team is coming out with a press release right now, and they are saying that Donald Trump is officially nominating Rick Perry for Energy Secretary. We knew this yesterday, but we're getting the official press release out right now. Lee Carter, what's your take on what we're seeing so far in terms of this transitioning and cabinet?
You know, I think it's really, really fascinating to watch the selections that he's made. He's got a mix of people who have experience with government. He's got a mix of people who are experienced in business. And then, of course, he's got his generals and military experience. And it's a really well-balanced administration. What I think is really interesting about Rick Perry is his representation of Texas. And I think the symbolism there about coming back to American oil, American all of the American energy sector that comes out of Texas and all of those energy companies. So I think that it's going to be fascinating to see how, and also Texas is a very, very business-friendly state. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out and what people's reactions are across the aisle, because I think there's going to be a lot of criticism on this pick, especially across the aisle.
Curious enough, this is one of the agencies that he wanted to do away with when he was running for the presidency 4 years ago, and the one that he forgot actually in the debate that you moderated.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, people were making fun of that yesterday, but these are the times that we live in.
Yeah.
That somebody who at one point wanted to do away with the Department of Energy
no better person to run it than the guy that wants to bring it down, right? So he knows the government excesses, and he'll run it more efficiently and make it smaller and better. I think a thing that we're skimming over a little bit, though, is one on the multicultural issues that when it comes to Kanye West. If you look, it wasn't only him. It was also Jim Brown, Ray Lewis. I think there's a lot of things playing in part there. One of them is actually the sanctuary city, Chicago, talking about being a sanctuary city. There's a lot of violence. So I think there's going to be a coalescence with the African-American community that Donald Trump is actually showing right now, that he's willing to work with some of the people that want to help change what's happening in their inner cities.
One of the things I think is so fascinating that he's doing right now, and I think it's really unexpected, is that he's meeting with people you wouldn't expect him to, people who opposed him so much, whether you're talking about the business community, Silicon Valley. A lot of people he's gone after, he's saying, I'm going to bring you together and we're going to have some conversations. And I think it's going to be, he promised to be the president of all Americans, and he's certainly demonstrating that.
Some of it is, I'm the president now and I got elected despite your opposition, come and kiss my ring. I think that, right, it's like you're going to come and meet me at my place of business, at my home, and you're going to come talk to me.
But the truth is everybody is getting in line. I mean,
right.
IBM this morning, actually late yesterday, saying that it's going to create 25,000 new jobs before Ginny Rometty's meeting with Donald Trump. So everybody is getting in line.
They are, because again,
because the fiscal policies.
Remember, Google had to add a want ad out for that job as a conservative liaison. So times have changed, and it's not just Donald Trump, it's the Republicans running the House and the Senate. Boy, you better get on board and play nice.
Exactly. Bre, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.